Nothing ever works the way you want it to. Ever. After some time and experience, you may be able to predict how things are going to go, but it will never go the way you really want it to deep down inside. All you got to do is put together some IKEA furniture and you'll know what I'm talking about. Even if you're the smartest and best well-trained engineers and scientists on the planet, you still end up with a Hubble Space Telescope that needs glasses. With policy, it's the same thing. See, I have a clear view of the way things should be, and in my mind, it seems so obvious. But the truth is, even if those policies were to come in overnight, there would still be problems. It would be foolish to think any answer is the universal perfect answer. Most politicians, really all of them, lie to the people. It's just a question of to what degree. Did they lie about everything they promised, or did we at least get some things that they said that they would do? Once in a while, comes along someone that actually tries to do what he said he would do. It's refreshing, but there's still problems. Trump keeps his promises next on The Michael Newman Show. Welcome. Michael Newman Show. Go to the website, michaelnewmanproductions.com. That's how you keep in touch with me. You can send me an email that way. Just click the contacts link. You can see all my contact information, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. You can check out my Twitter as well. There's a link to it on the website. Plus, you can just search Newmaniac1 and find me on Twitter. And most importantly, support the show. Click the support icon and make sure the show continues. Before we go on, something very important, because as I'm doing this, I may move my head or whatever, and you're going to see some blemishes. So, see that? See that right there? Yeah. And then if I turn my head again, wrong way. That, maybe you didn't see it. You see it? Right there. See all that stuff? I don't have a disease that I know of. Those are self-inflicted injuries. Not that I meant to, not that I'm into self-pain. Well, hold on. I'm not cognitively into self-pain, but maybe my child self on the inside just wants to hurt me, because it seems like whatever I do, I ended up hurting myself severely. Okay, so this one right here, see that? Oh, it's still sore. I was simply carrying something up from the basement and whacked my head real good. Yeah, that was fun. It was one of those hit it hard enough and stagger back type things. Yeah, it was fun. And then the other one, yeah, see this? All this in here? Oh, wrong side. Is all that there and up here. Okay. I went to cook some food the other day. Yes, I was roasting a roast, and I was doing a roast and a pork butt at the same time there in the oven, And I take it in and out and check things and baste things and what have you. And I put the whole rigmarole in the oven with one hand. Not a problem. But somehow, when I went to pull it out to test it and do some things to it, I lost balance or whatever it was, ended up flipping the thing in such a way where the meat spills all over the floor. I ate it anyway. And the juices that were very, very hot flew into the air and scorched my noggin. It was actually all over my face too, but fortunately the stuff that hit my face didn't burn, but the top of my head did get burned pretty good. So that's my life. All right, now we move on with the podcast. See, nothing ever works the way you want it to work. I thought I was just going to make a little dinner here. We're going to plan this out. We're going to make these roasts like you're making a prime rib. Start it hot, slow it down, cool it off. No, it didn't work the way I wanted it to, and didn't even taste very good when I was done. So I screwed up something royally, but I don't really want to talk about that. Speaking of things I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about the sexual harassment scandals either. That's like the biggest thing in the news. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. So we're not going to be talking about that at all. We are going to be talking about growth. Yes, apparently the economy is doing very, very well. The U.S. economy created 228,000 jobs in November, while the unemployment rate held steady at 4.1%, according to the Labor Department as of Friday. And so things are very, very good today. And, well, let's just go to the report.
228,000. November non-farm payrolls increased by 228,000 jobs. The unemployment rate is 4.1%. Average hourly earnings up 0.2%, 2.5%.
None of this affects me, by the way.
Year over year. Private sector employment in November plus 221,000. Revisions, in essence, for the 2 previous months, a net increase of 3,000 jobs from what had previously been reported. Job gains, biggest job gains, professional and business services, plus 46,000. Manufacturing up 31,000. Construction up 24,000. Healthcare.
Manufacturing up a great deal is a positive thing because manufacturing are jobs, the type of jobs that people want. That it's relatively low-skilled labor, can go in and make a decent living. And God, I'd like one of those jobs, one of those. Just, hey, put the widget together for 8 hours and go home. Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Plus 30,000. No real mention in this report about any hurricane-related effects in the data. Looking at the labor force participation rate, 62.7%, same as October. November, U6, 8%. October, it was 7.9%. Job growth now averaging 174,000 per month. For the year, 170,000 over the last 3 months.
So,
back to you guys.
Oh, thank you. So everything, it's hunky-dory. The economy is going, it's booming. And, of course, Donald Trump said, you put me in office and we'll have all this growth. We'll be doing so much winning. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad somebody's winning. The truth is, at least, maybe it's because I'm on the lower end of the totem pole here, but good or bad, I don't really see where all the money goes. I mean, do you? I don't. I mean, where are the jobs? What jobs? Maybe it's because I'm in Topeka and nothing ever happens in Topeka. But, they say things are great. They say things are bad. I see no difference. So I guess we'll just have to take it by what they say. I got to tell you, I'm not 100%. I'm not sold on the study of economics in general. I'm just not sold on it because there are so many factors, and many of the factors in economics are not even mathematical factors. They're emotional factors spread over a group of millions of people, sometimes billions of people that are very emotionally diverse and are in very different places in their life at the time. And all those motivations have a tendency to, well, not have a tendency, but have a direct impact on how they spend, how they save, what they're going to do with their money. I just don't believe there's any real predictor into that. So when an economist comes out, I'm an economist and I say BS. So, but they say growth, yay, jobs. Maybe I'll go look online and see if there's a job. Do a job. That'll be fun. The investigation continues, the old Mueller thing. All right. Now he's out doing his thing, but I changed things around, so I'm hunting for buttons here. Mr. Mueller struck a deal with President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. It marked a big step forward. This is according to Bloomberg. And the Russia investigation, it may also have provided some protection for Mueller against being fired by the president, according to the article. For one thing, it shows that Mueller is making progress. I don't know about that. I mean, what sort of progress? It shows that he's doing something, whether that something that he is doing is legal or really is progress, or it's just something to do to show some sort of progress within certain sectors. We don't know. Any rational prosecutor would realize that in this political environment, laying down a few markers would be a good way of fending off criticism that the prosecutions are burning through money and not accomplishing anything. Well, they are burning through money, and I wouldn't say they're not accomplishing anything. They're accomplishing their their goal, but they're not necessarily accomplishing the stated goal. The stated goal was to say, okay, there's collusion here. We're going to find the collusion, and that's bad. There was some sort of illegality on behalf of, here's what they want you to believe. There was some sort of illegality, some sort of conspiracy that happened between Trump and Russia, such that it handed the election to Trump versus Hillary Clinton. And had Trump not met with the Russians, had Trump not done anything with the Russians, then Hillary would have won. That is the narrative that they're trying to push. And that is the stated purpose of all these investigations. Of course, we know it isn't true, and that outcome will never happen. And the real use of this trial is to bottle things up and try to delegitimize President Trump as much as possible. The Flynn plea also makes it difficult for Trump to fire Mueller without inviting accusations of a cover-up and sparking a constitutional crisis, kind of like during Watergate. I don't know about that. I don't know if things could become even more contentious than they already are. I don't think the left needs a reason to throw allegations out there. I don't think they need an action by Trump to call it a cover-up or call it a constitutional crisis. I don't think any of that matters. The politics is really, shall we say, typical politics or historical politics is out the window at this point because you're dealing with insane people. Now, as far as investigations go, there are some investigations that currently aren't happening that probably should be happening. Okay, once again, I'm hunting for buttons. Jim Jordan, representative of Ohio, on Thursday laid out evidence pointing to collusion between Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign and the Russians that eventually led to Trump's campaign officials being spied on. And he determined that Attorney General Jeff Sessions either appoint a special counsel or step down. I agree with this. As a matter of fact, this should have happened a year ago. This should have happened on day one of the Trump administration. They should have had a special counsel or whomever it is to go after Hillary Clinton because, of course, the left was going to go after Donald Trump on day one, which they did, and have kept it up for an entire year. And now they should have started the war back then, and they never did that. Trump was trying to be a nice guy. I guess he was listening to the RNC, and the RNC doesn't want Hillary Clinton investigated because she probably knows where all the bodies are buried, and it could implicate many of them. But Mr. Jordan says, looks like some collusion here in this dossier, and it ended up, because of this dossier, which could be fake, probably is fake, we know is fake, ended up with some sort of wiretap, some sort of warrant on the Trump campaign at the time during the campaign. And if the government is being used to spy on a campaign, that shouldn't happen in America.
I'm going to go back to the basics. Remember, we got Mueller's special counsel team investigating possible coordination between the Trump campaign and Russians to influence the election. To date, we have zero evidence of that taking place. But what do we know? We have learned in the last several weeks that the Clinton campaign paid the law firm who paid Fusion GPS, who paid Christopher Steele, the MI6 agent, who paid Russians. The Clinton campaign paid Russians for this report, this dossier, and it's been reported that this dossier was all dressed up by the government, taken to the FISA court, and became the basis to spy on Americans. So I think that's what happened. All the evidence points to that as being what took place. But Christopher Wray can clear this all up. The FBI can clear this all up. The Attorney General can clear this all up. Rosenstein can clear this all up if they just release the applications and prove I'm wrong.
Right. So apparently this dossier was created and paid for by the Clintons, paid for by the Clinton machine. That in turn turned into some sort of intelligence, and calling it intelligence ended up in the FISA court. The FISA court said, okay, now you can spy on the Trump campaign, which is, I guess, a way of legally using the government to spy on an oppositional campaign. But it ain't good. He continues.
He doesn't know where his recusal starts and stops. That was evident 2 weeks ago in the questioning in front of the Judiciary
Talking about Jeff Sessions here.
Committee. So we have called on him. If you're not going to appoint a special counsel to get the answers to this question and a host of others, if you're not going to do it, then he should step down. That was in our letter that the op-ed that Mr. Gates and I put out 2 weeks ago. If Mr. Rosenstein and Mr. Wray and Mr. Sessions aren't going to make this application public so the American people can learn. Think about what took place maybe. If this actually happened, if you had the government working with one campaign to dress up a fake news National Enquirer garbage report, to dress it up as intelligence, take it to the FISA court to get a warrant to spy on the other campaign, That should not happen in this country. It looks like it did. And the way to disprove that is to release the application that was taken to the court to secure the warrant in the first place.
So I know you've said...
And there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that says that this is exactly what they were trying to do. If you just look at the way the Democrats have been using federal power over the past couple of years to attack the opposition, you'll see that this would just be the end in a long line of abuses from the Democrats towards the American people, specifically the American people on a more conservative-leaning or right-leaning side. We still haven't got any justice from the IRS. The IRS was specifically targeting conservative groups, making it more difficult for them to use their freedom of speech in a campaign year to, of course, help re-elect President Obama. We know this is the case, and no one has been brought to justice because of it. That is a gross and unconstitutional, treasonous use of government power to subvert the will of the people, and it's wrong. And as far as Jeff Sessions goes, I agree. Jeff Sessions should not have recused himself in the very first place. He just shouldn't have. The entire Russia investigation, the entire Russia collusion question was made up by the Democrats with absolutely no evidence whatsoever, with nothing. It was an allegation that they created out of thin air as a way to delegitimize the opposition. Okay, and it should have been treated as such from the very beginning, but it hasn't been done. Trump should have ended this a long time ago, but he didn't. Of course, Sessions has said he's backing away from it. Well, if that's the case, you need to take steps to fix this. You need to take steps to do your job as, I guess, the chief law enforcement officer to make sure that happens. And Mr. Jim Jordan agrees.
Only logical way to get to the answers for the American people is to appoint a second special counsel. And again, if the Attorney General is not going to do it, frankly, I don't think he should be the Attorney General.
And that's very clear, and I think it's absolutely the case. I don't have a problem with Jeff Sessions in general. I think he's a fairly good guy, and he's a hawk on immigration, but I don't know. He's been in politics a long time. He's been a senator for a long time, and you may end up becoming someone whom you should not be if you are in a position of power for that consistent amount of time. So the wish to get rid of Donald Trump, delegitimize the presidency, possibly, well, they voted the other day. The Democrats voted just the other day to have him impeached. Of course, that fell flat on its face, and you knew it would. But this continued harping on getting rid of this president is never ending. It's never ceasing. But the truth is, this president has actually been doing some things that he said he was going to do. So admits CNN. A politician who actually does what he told the voters that he would do. Almost unfathomable in Washington, a town of broken promises. A piece from the Daily Wire. President Donald Trump earned a rare moment of praise from CNN on Thursday for following through on his campaign promises, a rarity among politicians in Washington, D.C. They did an entire analysis of this entitled Donald Trump, Keeper of Promises. And within that, they talked about a couple of things that he had promised and seems to have kept those promises. One, he has moved to renegotiate NAFTA. Good idea. He's pulled out of the proposed Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords. And by the way, as CNN is talking about this, they're saying he's actually doing what he said he would do, and these are all the things we hate. Oh, I wish he would have lied to us, is basically what CNN is saying. CNN is saying he's an awful president because he's doing what the people elected him to do. He's targeted the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, also known as the Iran nuclear deal. He's implemented a travel ban targeting countries that are hotbeds for Islamic terrorism. He's pushed for harder immigration policies, and he's strengthened the economy and stock market. So, well, I guess that one's okay. It's all right, but, the rest of that, he's kind of a dick, man. And he's also kept up on some promises that were made not by his campaign, but by previous governments, in fact, by Congress. And promises that have been made over a long period of time, codified in law, that President Bush, President Obama, none of those people ever, or even President Clinton, these people never followed through on. On Wednesday, President Trump finally kept the promise that he made at the state of promise that he made to the state of Israel by Congress in 1995, but ignored by every president since, announcing that the United States recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering. I've judged this course of action to be in the best interests of the United States of America and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. This is a long overdue step to advance the peace process and to work towards a lasting agreement. Israel is a sovereign nation with the right, like every other sovereign nation, to determine its own capital.
It's a sovereign nation. It has been a sovereign nation. The Congress voted and codified into law back in 1995 that Israel is a sovereign nation and should be treated as such and should be able, and we as a people should move our embassy to their capital to reflect that. But it's something that hasn't been done because, we need bilateral peace talks, blah, 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 and the Middle East peace, and it's never going to happen if we... The reason why it hasn't been done previously is because backlash. The entire Middle East doesn't believe that Israel should exist. They just don't. They hate Israel. They hate Jews. The Jewish state is smack dab in the middle of the most anti-Semitic area in the world. Concentration of that is astounding. And because President Trump has said that we're going to follow through on our promises, the Middle East is burning itself down. Riots sparked by Donald Trump's provocative move, not all that provocative. This is a piece from The Sun out of the UK, to move to reconcile the holy city of Jerusalem as Israel's capital have spread to Indonesia and Malaysia. Furious protesters have joined rallies around the world after terror group Hamas called for a day of rage in response to the U.S. president's announcement. No, we can't recognize the Jews. We hate the Jews. So there's conflict happening all over the world. And I don't think it's not just going to end, you see, this sort of conflict. It's going to continue until those combatants are eliminated, right? Until there's no other choice but for peace. Israel has tried bilateral, a two-state solution. It doesn't work. The problem is the Middle East does not want Israel there. They hate Israel. Period. End of story. And you can see by the reaction of people around the world that that is the case.
There will, of course, be disagreement and dissent regarding this announcement. But we are confident that ultimately, as we work through these disagreements, we will arrive at a peace and a place far greater.
That was a mistake, by the way. I think it was supposed to be not peace, but arrive at a place. But he covered.
In understanding and cooperation. This sacred city should call forth the best in humanity, lifting our sights to what it is possible.
I will admit, this is a long, the B-roll that you're seeing here, the background that you're seeing here was a long piece, and it was a lot of various different pieces put together. And I did edit it to show you exactly what we're talking about here. It's certain areas of what he would say, like the best the Middle East has to offer, and then, okay, maybe it's a little bit of propaganda, but hey, it's my show. I can do what the hell I want.
Possible, not pulling us back and down to the old fights that have become so totally predictable. Peace is never beyond the grasp of those willing to reach it. So today we call for calm, for moderation, and for the voices of tolerance.
You know, you got to think of exactly what they're protesting, right? It's not like there was an attack. It's not like, bombs were dropped. The only thing really that's happening is the United States is moving their embassy. They're building a new embassy. And, a new embassy like that will require a lot of people being hired, many of them probably Jews in Israel. Many of them could be Palestinians. Who knows who they're going to hire, but jobs are going to be created because the government is going to be spending money to build literally a new building. So the only thing that has happened here that has set the Islamic world on fire is a recognition of Israel as a real state and the Jewish people as a sovereign nation. That's the only thing that's happened. And the mere fact that they're being recognized as, human, enrages them.
To prevail over the purveyors of hate. Our children should inherit our love, not our conflicts. I repeat the message I delivered at the historic and extraordinary summit in Saudi Arabia earlier this year. The Middle East is a region rich with culture, spirit, and history. Its people are brilliant, proud, and
How do you
diverse,
shoot this? What's going on?
vibrant, and strong. But the incredible future awaiting this region is held at bay by bloodshed, ignorance, and terror.
The other thing I noticed as I was watching this, because it seems like just a lot of young men out there causing problems, and it looked a hell of a lot like an Antifa demonstration, didn't it? I mean, if you had some more masks on there, you would see that you almost couldn't tell the difference. They're burning things, they're breaking down windows, they're causing general mayhem and attacking people. Sounds like Antifa, doesn't it? So, in conclusion, what are we talking about here? There's promises made by the Trump administration. He's trying to carry through with them. There's going to be some backlash, number one, and some people are going to be very unhappy about what happens. So that is the case. That is the way things work, and there's really no other way around it. And when there has been a promise made by Congress, it probably should be kept regardless of what the fallout of what that promise may be. I mean, it was predictable, but they made the promise anyway, unless Congress was lying in the beginning and it was just for show. So, yes, it's a good thing that they took this policy. And yes, carrying through with the policy is going to have some repercussions, but those repercussions are predicted, and that's just the way it is. We have to live through it to see a brighter day. Speaking of brighter day, one last story here that has nothing to do with politics, has everything to do with science. It's from the New York Times. Very strange story. Think about this, okay? You're driving along, and just a normal day, you're just driving along, and you come up to a stoplight. You come up to that stoplight, and what happens? Your eyes recognize there's a stoplight up there, that it's gone from green to red or green to yellow to red, and that information of a red light in front of you goes into the cognitive parts of your brain. It's determined at that point that red means stop. And because you see a red light, you have to stop. So your cognitive portions of your brain send the message down to your foot saying, hit the brake pedal so you can stop at the stoplight. What if you could sort of bypass some of that and just inject information so it wouldn't require all that cognitive process? It could just be stimulus and reaction. Well, it sounds kind of good, right? Now imagine you have a device implanted into your brain that can short-circuit the pathway and inject information straight into your premotor cortex. Interesting. Sounds like something from Out of the Matrix. But two neuroscientists at the University of Rochester say that they have managed to introduce information directly into the premotor cortex of monkeys. There you go. Further research might lead to brain implants to help people with strokes. Now, of course, all this research is always done, we're going to help the sick people. But of course, if you can just inject information into a person's mind, it's not going to be used on just sick people. It's going to be used on everyone because everyone will want to be smarter, right? And as that technology improves, we don't even need schools anymore. We're just going to inject knowledge and you'll be able to go out and do things. Now, you could potentially, with stroke victims, what they're saying is you could potentially bypass damaged areas of the brain that, the person has a stroke and then there's one part of the brain that can't communicate with the other part of the brain. Hence, they have, motor difficulties and what have you. This could be implanted so that it just injects that information directly into the place that it needs to be and bypass that intercommunicational error. So that's a cool deal. But it's just kind of a weird, study, right? I mean, you're sitting there, okay, it sounds fun. It sounds like it would be good for people, fix the stroke victims and potentially many others. And you don't want to do it on a human first. You got to do it on a monkey. So you're going to inject information into the monkey. What exactly would you want the monkey to know? That had to be at least one meeting, right? What should the monkey know? I don't know. How about monkey human sex equals AIDS? That might be important. Or if you don't attack people, you could be in the movies. Yeah, go Clyde. It'd be a good thing for the monkey, be a famous monkey. Oh, and speaking of movies, most importantly, don't watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You won't like it.
Build a monkey brain.
Okay. Sorry about that last one. I know it was not the greatest. All right, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for paying attention, my friends. Go to the website, michaelnewmanproductions.com. That is where you can keep in contact with me and get the links to today's show. You can also follow me on Twitter, Newmaniac1, Facebook, YouTube. Check out the services link. Please support the show. There's a couple ways you can support the show. Number one, you can click the support icon on the website, and that'll take you to my Patreon page where you can support me directly. But if you can't do that, at least do me the favor of sharing this with your friends. Just share it out so more people see the videos, and that'll help me out an awful lot. Have a great weekend.
Wow, see ya!